All right, thank you so much for joining us. This is a really exciting episode for me. We have an absolute legend that we're talking to. I'm talking with Eric, aka Eric the Car Guy from YouTube with Eric the Car Guy channel. Currently over 1 million subscribers. Absolutely incredible channel with 5.4 million views on the highest viewed video. Going back over 9 years, this gentleman is an absolute legend. I'm thrilled to be able to bring him with you. Eric, thank you so much for joining me, man.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, it's a real pleasure, mate. Absolutely, a real pleasure. I love the channel. What you're doing there with people, helping them with the car enthusiasts, everyone from the DIY guy, somebody who just wants to know how it works. I absolutely love what you've put in there, man. That's that the passion that you have for all things automobile is pretty clear in your channel.
Thank you very much.
It's awesome. So you've been doing this for 9 years, man. I looked back through the channel and saw, I think the first video, even that very first one, had over 18,000 views. Did you ever think it would be as big as it has been?
I hoped for it, but my loftiest goal when I started was 100,000 subscribers.
Wow. Well, you've knocked that absolutely out of the park, man. Absolutely. Now, I noticed that you had a bit of a break a little while ago, and on your video coming back, it was the coming back video that you actually said, hey, wow, we're over 1 million subscribers, and tell me about that. That must have been a huge thrill for you?
Well, it certainly was. Do you want to talk about the break a little bit, or do you want to talk about the 1 million subscriber thing?
Talk about the 1 million subscribers. I'll get to the break in a second, because one of the things you said on the welcome back video was that the time you had on other projects was eating you up, and you just needed to finish some things off. So we'll come back to that. But the feeling of that million mark, I mean, that must have been something pretty special.
Oh, indeed it was. I mean, I never expected to get there. Of course, you hope for those kind of things when you start doing this, but to actually reach that, it was completely overwhelming, and I certainly have the fans to thank for that, and the people that watch the show. So yeah. Thank you.
Man, well, they love you, man. They love you. How did this all get started for you, Eric? Like, what made you turn the camera on? What kind of got you into being a YouTuber?
Well, I have to kind of go back before I was an auto mechanic. I was going to art school. And, I found out that the best I could hope for with that was to become an art teacher, or perhaps doing greeting cards and all that type of thing. So it wasn't really my thing. So I moved to Pittsburgh and went to school for special effects and makeup for a little bit. And I really enjoyed that. Thing is I wasn't able to finish that school because of finances. So I kind of kicked around for a little bit. And during this entire time, I'd been fixing my own car because I didn't have the money to have somebody else do it. So I decided to finally get serious. So I enrolled in automotive school, and I really took to it. So
fantastic.
I went through school. I graduated top of my class. I got out and got a job and started doing really well. But after working in the industry for a while, I don't know if you want to call it I became jaded, but it just, things sort of changed. So I wanted to go back towards the artistic side of things. So one day I walked into a computer store and sat down and started playing with iMovie.
Nice.
And I realized that it was the medium that I'd always wanted, because not only could I manipulate the visuals, but I could also manipulate the sound as well as time. So those three things combined to me are a very powerful tool to reach people. And from there, what I did was I started my own video production company, and I started doing weddings and events and that type of thing. And I really enjoyed it. So I was moonlighting doing that while I was a mechanic. Well, I lost my job as a mechanic, so I decided, I didn't really feel like being a mechanic anymore, so I wanted to give video production a go. Well, this was 2008, and it wasn't exactly the time to start a business of video production.
Sure.
During the recession. So I was watching YouTube one day, and there was a guy on there that was actually bragging about how much money he was making. He was holding up a check for $7,000 for a month's worth of videos. And at that time, there was nothing that was strictly dedicated to automotive. And I knew that I had automotive skill, and I knew I had video production skill. And at that time, there wasn't a whole lot on YouTube that had quality video production. And I'm not saying my early videos were quality video production, but they were above and beyond anything that was really being put out at the time. So I thought definitely. The combination of having the mechanical expertise and the video expertise, that I could present the information that could be clear and easily understood by the audience. So that's really the genesis of how Eric the Car
It's
Guy
like
got started.
it's the merging of two roads, man. They're like came together just beautifully well for you. That's really cool. So I noticed like when I'm watching your channel, you've got some awesome like angles. You're going under the car, as you said. I guess you're manipulating the view, you're manipulating time, you're manipulating the sound, getting all that kind of stuff working in the right way. How many people are on your crew? Are you? Is it just you, or have you got a couple of people helping you out there?
I had a cameraman for a while. Actually, I had a couple of cameramen that I used from time to time, and that was extremely helpful during production.
Mm-hmm.
But what I found is now I have a massive backlog of post-production.
Right.
So, the pendulum swung the other way. So I just recently hired an editor to help me work through that because I still have, a lot of videos. It could be close to 100 videos to edit yet.
Wow,
that
awesome.
are shot that haven't seen the light of day because editing is extremely time consuming. So it sort of goes back and forth.
Yeah, like you punch out a bunch of content, and then it's a matter of I guess putting that video skill into the mix. Do you still? So you've hired an editor. Are you still kind of overseeing that with the background that you have? Or do you give them free reign?
No, I go back in and do the final cuts. So the edit is just a stepping off point. There's a lot of time put in to get to that point where you go through the raw footage and sort of distill it down into something that's cohesive.
Yeah.
Then I go back in and I finish it off and give it, the final touches and make it mine, so to speak. But it certainly does, it buys me time.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. Like I guess it's taking a lot of the bulk work out of that initial editing. So if you look at your channel, and most of your videos are I guess reasonably long. I would say like 20 minutes is kind of long for the YouTube world these days.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. To make a 20-minute video or even 20, 30-minute video, what sort of time are you putting in post-production? Like what's a shoot time? What's an editing time? How long does it take to put that together?
Yeah, 20 minutes is pretty huge. That usually comes from 3 to 5 hours worth of footage.
Wow.
That was shot. So, like I said, that's extremely time consuming to go through that because you've got to find the little golden nuggets that are in there, the pieces of information that are relevant, and you have to throw away the stuff that isn't.
Yeah.
I try to keep my edits pretty tight. So even if it is 20 minutes, I try to let it move and make it so that the audience the people that are watching, they don't feel like they're spending 20 minutes watching it.
No.
But yet there's also enough detail there to where if somebody wanted to emulate what I'm doing in the video, they'll be able to do so successfully because that's the end goal. I mean, things have changed a lot, honestly, since I started on YouTube. And as a result, my longer form videos aren't as in vogue as they used to be.
Sure.
So because these days it's all about watch time. And it's really hard to get somebody to watch a 20-minute video that doesn't directly pertain to them. So I would say that people that watch those longer form videos now are dedicated to what I do, and I appreciate each and every eyeball that's on them.
Absolutely.
On my videos.
That most of them you would imagine, as you're taking apart a carburetor or you're putting something back together they're watching, they're pausing, and they're doing that on their own machine as they're there with you as their coach, I would imagine.
Quite possibly, yes. It depends. If they're watching it for entertainment, then they're watching it for entertainment, and I doubt they're pausing it. But if they're watching it and they're actually trying to complete the job, then yes, I would say exactly that.
On the hood of the car with the pause button ready to go. But yeah, from an entertainment point of view, absolutely. I just want to skip back, and I mentioned the break and the editing time. Did you just find that it just got a little bit too much? You had a couple of months there where you were taking off the time of the channel and just getting everything back together?
Well, first, YouTube isn't my only job, if you will.
Okay.
Last year, I was hired as the executive producer for the videos for Pull Apart.
The Pull Apart guys, I saw that. That looked amazing.
Yeah, I was the executive producer on that project. Fantastic. So in addition to that, I produced over 70 videos for them. So in addition to the work that I was doing in editing, I was also doing that. And at the same time, I was also building the Fairmont.
Yep.
So my first time building a car, I'm producing videos of that. Then I took on additional work where I would fly to Atlanta on occasion and spend a week there shooting. And then I'd have to work through those edits on top of what I was doing. And it just became too much. I mean, it just trying to put out a weekly video on this level or just repair videos is daunting enough. But you also have to keep in mind that I have another channel, ETCG1, that gets videos posted on Mondays. And I also produce exclusive content for the premium members of my website. So it's up to 3 videos a week that I'm producing.
Wow.
Add 70 more on top of that, and travel, and building a car for the first time.
Oh my God.
It's just too much.
Do you know,
So
like,
I had to step away. I finished the car and then came back.
good on you. And the response as you've come back to see your numbers are spiking is just fantastic. But I just want to break in there, man, because that's really important. Like, for a lot of people that are watching this, and as I mentioned to you, like, you know, we're talking to people who's just, I want to be on YouTube, I want to get my content out, I want to get my message across. I really want them to hear what you've just said, and it's so congruent with other people that we've spoken to as well. There's a heck ton of work. It's not just turn the camera on and everybody's going to love you. Like, you guys are seriously hustling in terms of the hours and the work to get this kind of publicity and success. It doesn't just come easy.
Well, that's just the content. Once you produce the video, you've got to upload it.
Yeah.
Then you have to write the description. Then you have to make the tags. Then you have to come up with a thumbnail that people want to click on. Then you have to promote it on social media. So it's a never-ending hamster wheel. You'll never get off.
Definitely.
You just keep running faster and faster until, like last year for me, I got to a point where I was like, enough. I'm getting off this thing, and I'm just going to do me for a minute and then come back to it. And if it's there, great. If it's not, it's not. So. And
as we said, coming back on, like, to see that spike is people love having you back on the tube, man.
Well, I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, for sure. So I just wanted to say, like, you've been posting content for 9 years, and you mentioned a lot of things have changed. How do you find it now, like, in terms of technology and are things easier? Are they harder? Like, what are you finding the major changes there?
Well, number one, when ad blockers came along, it destroyed everything. This is before adpocalypse. I don't think people realize the significance of what ad blockers did. To the web, what it did to my website and what it did to my YouTube videos.
Really?
And that caused YouTube to rethink some things, given that people weren't watching the ads.
Right.
And initially, when I started doing this, I thought the beauty of what I was doing is that I'd be able to help people who couldn't afford auto repair for free, and the people that were paying for it were advertisers.
Got it.
Well, what they didn't realize is once they started putting out the ad blockers, that whole thing sort of fell apart. So given that, and the fact that YouTube has grown to the level it has, there's no way that there can be human policing. In fact, that's one of the issues that YouTube has been working through.
Yeah.
Therefore, really what I'm working up against now is an algorithm.
Right.
And it's a lot of testing to figure out what works with that algorithm and what doesn't. When I started, I just went by the philosophy, if you build it, they will come.
Yeah,
so
sure.
I just wanted to make good auto repair videos, and I figured people would show up, and they did. And for a while, I was featured on YouTube's homepage and all that kind of thing. But these days, I'm pushed to the sidelines because other videos are I don't necessarily want to say more popular, but more optimized for
They're
the
ticking
algorithm.
more of those algorithm boxes.
If you're not optimized for the algorithm, you're nowhere. You're like out in the desert somewhere. And I'm still trying to fight my way back through that.
Got it. Is it do you have a schematic? Do you have like a checklist of things that you go through in order to optimize the best that you possibly can?
It's hit and miss because the algorithm also changes. So once you've got it figured out, something changes in it, and then you have to work towards that. It's really about A/B testing, and I do that. I've been doing that on some of my videos to try to figure out what's working and what's not. So, making adjustments to thumbnails or making adjustments to keywords or titles or things like that to try to get the videos optimized. But it seems that the nature of it these days, if the video doesn't ramp up quickly after you first release it, then it kind of hits a plateau and just levels off and doesn't really go anywhere after that point.
So they give a lot of, I guess, a lot of attention to those videos new as they hit, and if they warrant more attention, they keep them going.
Well, not just that, they make it even more difficult to where they don't even share it with your subscribers. So when I post a new video, there are several of my subscribers that aren't even aware.
Wow,
and so crazy. It's you really have to push the awareness all the time. So I hear from people all the time, I didn't realize you were back.
Wow.
And I've been posting videos last December.
Yep.
So that's the kind of thing I'm talking about, is that, if you're not within the algorithm these days, it's extremely difficult to try and be relevant.
And it's actually leading into the next question I wanted to ask you. From the videos themselves, I know you have your website. And if you want to give us a plug on that, that'd be cool. It's EricTheCarGuy.com?
That's correct, yes.
Yep. Eric the Car Guy. Guys, go and check it out, by the way. Are you primarily looking to drive people back to your primary website, or are you concentrating on keeping them in the channel, so to speak?
When I initially started this, I was, as I said, one of the first people to start doing it. As a result, I was inundated with questions from people about their vehicles and the problems that they were having with them.
Yeah.
So what I did with the website was I tried to make it a one-stop shop for those people, and that I've created an FAQ page that covers many of the common problems that, 80% of the things I get asked about are covered in those articles, and I've incorporated the videos that go along with those problems, like engine overheat or a no start or an electrical problem or something like that. So it's really a place for people to go to where I don't have to have an inbox flooded with people asking me questions because there's no way for me to answer them. I mean, they have the help that they need is immediate.
Yep.
So I refer them to the website so that they can basically get the response that I would give them anyway through email, but much more detailed and organized in such a way to where if there was a specific no start problem, so if it was a crank no start, they'd have a place to go for that. Or if it was a no crank no start, they'd have a place to go for that. So it took 2 years to put all that information together and organize it in that way.
Wow.
In addition, I started a forum to where if your question wasn't answered within those FAQs, that there was a place where you could go and post the question and possibly get an answer that way. So,
and you have like a crowd
really
support answer there as well. Like, a whole bunch of people can jump in on the forum and give that advice. That's so cool, man. That's so cool.
Because we already talked about the effort that goes into just video production, post-production, and then promotion. To add answering automotive questions on top of that is another, it's just overwhelming. So,
yeah,
exactly. Well, that's a full-time job in and of itself, minus all the videos. So having that available has been very beneficial to me and anyone looking for auto repair help.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's an amazing resource as well. So can I just ask from your perspective, somebody that has really been in the trenches, what would be your tip? And I guess the scope of people that we'd be talking to are pretty wide. Everybody from, crafts and bakeries through to, kids and sports channels, all kinds of things. If you could give a piece of advice in terms of creating content to that group of people, what sort of advice would you give for them?
Well, you may like it, but I guess the best advice I can give is when you're on YouTube and you're out there, the one thing that you're competing for is someone's time.
Got it.
So if you're not able to get them to commit to whatever it is you're doing for any amount of time, then you're not going to be effective. So you really have to look at the content that you're producing as a third party, so to speak, and say, is somebody going to take the time to invest in this? Would I watch this? Or would I invest in this? Would I give 3 minutes of my life for this, or whatever length of video it is?
So
and
make
if
it
you
worthwhile.
can't answer yes to that, if you can't answer yes to that, then you're likely not going to be successful. And it takes time. I would say it's going to take you 2 to 3 years just to get a foothold.
Yep.
And then from there, things take off, unless you get lucky. I mean, there's always that possibility, but these days there are millions of people trying to make a living on YouTube, and that competition and the algorithm are both working against you. So you have to do what you can to stand out. I guess find the people that you really like, find the things that you really like about what they do, try to incorporate that into what you're doing, and then put your own little stink on it so that when you put it out in the world, it's part of who you are. So.
That's seriously solid advice.
And,
try make sure you're authentic.
Yeah, that's true too. But unless that's not your thing, there are plenty of people on YouTube that aren't authentic. That are just putting on an act because that's their act.
Got it. Yeah.
So that's entirely possible also. But I think more than anything, you have to have a thick skin because not everybody's going to like you. There are people that are just going to hate you on site, and that's just what they do. So you can't take that personally. You've got to separate yourself from your work, because if you take all this time and effort and pour it into your work, it's a part of you. It's out there. It does sting a bit when people are taking shots at it, and they will take shots at it, but you can't let that get to you. You've got to overcome that.
One of the questions that I actually had was about that, people taking shots. How do you handle, so like the positive comments you're getting, they're coming through on the phone, whatever. I mean, they're fantastic. They're really, they can give a massive boost in and of themselves. But I'm sure you would have had to deal with the ones that just are terrible. How do you deal with comments in general, whether they're positive or negative, and then moving into the terrible ones? How do you deal with that in the channel?
Well, first of all, it's difficult because you'll get 100 great comments, and you'll look at those and you'll smile and say thank you, and it's wonderful. But you'll get that one comment
Yeah.
that just zings you, and that's the one you focus on. It's really hard not to do that.
Yeah.
It just depends on the situation. If the person, sometimes I've gotten to a point where I can sort of read between the lines and see that, okay, this person is having a very bad day or whatever. And sometimes I'll just gloss over every hateful thing that they've said to me or about me and just be like, hey, I hope you're having a good day.
Yeah, nice.
Or sometimes what you do, and that throws them off. It really, once again, it really depends on my mood. And then others will just go off on this tirade like they know everything or whatever. And then I might do a little response to it. And then I actually got this from a fellow YouTuber last week. He was saying that what he does is he takes their comment and pins it to the top so that all the other fans of his go after them. So it's kind of like throwing fresh meat in the water with piranhas.
I like that. That's nice. Again, it's crowdsourced, responsing.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, because the last thing that haters want is to be exposed like that. I mean, they want the attention, but once they reach a certain threshold and you get past that, they get really frustrated. It's kind of fun to watch them.
Wow, that's a really different way of approaching it. Do you ever do the block delete? Like literally just the comment comes in, oh, man, that's just out of line, block delete, or the other way around, delete block. Like, is that ever an instantaneous response from you?
Yeah, hate speech. Anybody that comes after, anybody that gets personal.
Yeah.
As if they're getting personal with me, fine, I don't care. But if they start going after each other in the comments, they're gone. Or and just hate speech in general.
Good on you.
There are certain trigger words that I'll just delete them right out of the gate. So
cool. And are you managing all of that yourself, Eric? Is that you in there managing that, or is it part of the team?
As much as I can, yeah.
Yeah. Right. Just to add to the hours.
That's something I also forgot to mention as far as the posting and the social media and everything. Then there's the response and dealing with comments, and you can sit there for hours just answering comments.
Yeah, and once you get over that magic million mark, I mean, I can imagine that they would be coming pretty thick and fast. I saw some of the comments there have got 600-700 comments and more on some of the videos there, which is huge. So, what do you think are the best and worst things then about running the blog, about being a successful YouTuber?
Well, the best thing is it's not a real job. I love it.
That's an awesome answer. That's an awesome answer, man.
Yeah, I really enjoy it. It's if I had to, like, say, go to my boss for a raise or something like that, or I had to work within the confines of a company or whatever, I don't know if I'd do as well. Yeah. I seem to have really taken a shine to the independent entrepreneurial thing that YouTube offers. The flip side is just like any business that you own or run yourself, everything's your problem.
Yeah, sure.
So anything that comes up, you've got to deal with it one way or another. You can't ignore it. You can't say, oh, well, that's not my job, because everything's your job.
Everything is in your camp, yeah.
Yeah, it's all your responsibility, and you have to go at it that way, because if you don't, well, I don't think you'll last that long.
The typical entrepreneur will say, you know what, when everything's in my camp, I actually love that, because that means that, if I don't like it, I can change it. And, that's part of the charm, I guess.
Yeah.
It's the good and the bad, right?
Yeah, well, you have to pick your battles, but I would agree with that, yeah.
Very cool, very cool. So if I just wanted to, I'm really respectful of your time, and again, thank you so much, mate, for joining us. For people who are getting started, you mentioned obviously making sure that the content is valuable. Is somebody going to give up 3 minutes of their life for this? So making sure that the content is valuable, making sure that you're mirroring, I guess, the successful people doing what they're doing, and you can then add your own spin on that. What other advice would you say to somebody getting started? Like, they've maybe put up a couple of YouTube videos. They've turned the camera around. They've done a couple. They come to you and they catch up with you in a supermarket, and you put your arm around them and say, what would you say to that person getting started?
Don't forget about video production. Quality video production will give you a lot of forgiveness. So spend your time learning your craft. Learn how to light a scene. Learn about sound, and learn how to put those things together in a cohesive way. But just during acquisition, I see so many badly lit and poor sound quality videos that it's, to me, that's an immediate turnoff. Once again, if you're competing for somebody's time and they look at the video, they can't even see what you're doing, There's a billion other things over on the right that they can click on that's not you.
Yeah.
So you want to grab their attention and hold it. I also am not a fan of long, flashy intros. To me, that says that, that's all show and no go. So it's really pretty on the outside, but you lift the hood and there's nothing there. So don't spend your time like on some flashy logo or whatever. Spend your time on your content, and let the flashy logo thing come later. But put your focus on quality production. In fact, I recommend checking out videomaker.com. They're a magazine that even has connections to YouTuber magazine and articles specifically geared towards people looking to get into the YouTube realm.
Fantastic. That's a nice tip, man. That's a nice tip. And so as you're looking forward, like YouTube's obviously been an incredible medium for you. Are there other areas of making money outside of YouTube that are part of your life now as a result of Eric the Car Guy channel?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And part of that comes in the form of partnerships with companies that want to sponsor a video. In fact, I've got one coming out Monday that was sponsored by the Department of Energy and General Motors.
Super.
So, but you get that kind of attention. So once you're at that point or cross a certain level, I'd say 100,000 subscriber-ish. I reached 150,000 on my other channel and started getting offers there recently.
Fantastic.
So I almost think that companies, or you're most likely going to deal with PR companies if you're dealing with the larger companies, not the company directly. And then they start reaching out to you. So those are opportunities that come about. But you have to be careful about those because sometimes your audience can react unfavorably to sponsored content. So it depends on how you present it. Also, I would say if you are doing sponsored content, at the beginning of a sponsored video, I say flat out right there, this is a sponsored video. I just say it right in the video. No words, no nothing. It is clear. So
nice.
That way, if you're opposed to that kind of thing, there's no question.
People can relate as well, like that. Just you being straight up with people, which is looking at your channel is how you've always been. So that's awesome.
Well, authenticity has been a default approach for me for some time, but just in general, people doing that type of work. So there's that's come about. Also, things through the website. Like I said, I've got a premium membership there. That's another form of income. I wanted to diversify from the beginning because I never wanted to rely 100% on YouTube, and I suggest that others don't do the same because once again, they can change the algorithm, and next thing you know, your videos aren't being watched anymore. So it's a big game, but once you develop your brand and you get to that point, develop the brand overall. And as I stated last year, I had a job as an executive producer with another company producing videos for them. So it's a lot of opportunities that come about just because my name is out there.
That's
and
awesome.
Sometimes, there's speaking engagements or other things that also come about. There's been a lot of travel. I've been to Finland a couple of times.
Wow.
And
that's come as a result of that branding.
Yes, absolutely. 100%. Yeah.
So the formula.
There's a lot of opportunities that can come with it, but you have to be careful how you manage them and how you present them because that whole thing can go off the rails with your audience if they don't feel connected to you any longer.
Yeah. For sure. Do you know what, man? Like the formula that you've outlined there, absolute quality content, knowing and loving your craft, right? Builds a brand that will get followers because of that quality, and it's that brand growth that will then open the door to those opportunities. Like
absolutely.
As a formula, that is absolutely spot brilliant. So I love it. Eric, man, again, I'm so grateful for your time. Thank you so much for your wisdom and for the opportunity to speak to you, to see your success over the last 9 years, growing from the videos there and 5.4 million views on the most popular video there and 5.3 on the next one. So just to prove it wasn't a fluke, is an absolute pleasure to be able to chat to you. Thank you very much for sharing. And I'm going to make sure we've got some links to your channel. Guys, if you're watching this, go and check out Eric as somebody who knows his craft, who is entertaining, and can turn even a clogged throttle into a really amazing video on the channel there. Go and check out Eric's channel. Please go and check out his website as well. And again, mate, thank you so much for your time and congratulations on the success. I really look forward to seeing more of it.
Well, thank you. It's been a real pleasure.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Cheers, bud.